So you're thinking about moving to Midwest City, Oklahoma, but you want to know the pros and the cons, the good, the bad. You want the inside scoop on what it's like to live in Midwest City. Well, that's what we're going to cover in this video, and we're going to get after it right now. Hey, real quick, if this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything about living in Oklahoma City and the surrounding areas, then go ahead and subscribe below and tap that notification bell so that you can be the first to know about the current market in the Oklahoma City metro. My name is Ben, and I get calls every day from people just like you looking for help to make their move to the Oklahoma City area, and I love it. Whether you're looking to move in 9 days or 90 days, give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email. I'd be happy to help you make the smooth transition to the Oklahoma City area. So like I mentioned, today we're talking about the pros and cons of living in Midwest City. Midwest City is a suburb on the east side of Oklahoma City, and it's also home to one of the largest military communities in the state of Oklahoma. Tinker Air Force Base is located in Midwest City and has more than 26,000 military and civilian employees. Tinker is the largest single-site employer in the state of Oklahoma, and Tinker has an annual statewide economic impact of $3.5 billion, creating an estimated 33,000 secondary jobs. And if we take a look at the current population of Midwest City, at the time of this recording, it's 58,146. That's an increase of 7.5% since the year 2020. So as you'll notice with many of these videos on the suburbs surrounding Oklahoma City, those areas are growing as Oklahoma City continues to expand and continues to sort of be busting at the seams. People are finding themselves moving into these suburbs that surround the city, where they've still got convenient access to Oklahoma City, but there's a little more breathing room, I guess you could say, with your budget. Your real estate dollars go a little bit further in many of these suburbs that surround the city. So like any place where you're considering relocating, obviously you want to do your research. You want to do a deep dive on those things that are important to you. Maybe it's the school systems, or maybe it's the amenities that are nearby. Maybe you are someone who likes to hike or fish, or whatever those things are. You want to do your own research on an area that you're considering living in to make sure that it's right for you and for your family. And this can certainly be a good starting point. This is going to be a high-level overview of the pros and cons of Midwest City. But again, you always want to do your own research and make sure you do that deep dive on what's important to you. So let's dive into the first pro of living in Midwest City, and that is it's close to Oklahoma City. Many folks who live in Midwest City commute into Oklahoma City for work. Maybe that's what you're considering doing. And that drive is just about 15 to 20 minutes, depending on which part of Midwest City you're coming from. Now, there's some construction on I-40 in that area, which I'm going to talk about in the next point, but there are multiple ways to get into Oklahoma City from Midwest City. I'll have a map video that covers that in more detail, but not only can you take I-40 to get into the city, you can also take 23rd Street, 10th Street, or Reno. Those are all great ways to get into Oklahoma City, but you've got that convenient access being very close to Oklahoma City from Midwest City. Again, just a 15 to 20 minute drive, maybe even shorter than that if you are on the west side of the suburb of Midwest City. And that brings me to con number one of Midwest City. That is the traffic in the area right now. There's a fair amount of construction happening on and along I-40 between Oklahoma City and Midwest City. So that corridor from the east side of Oklahoma City on into Midwest City, there's a good amount of construction happening there. And so if you are commuting into downtown Oklahoma City from Midwest City, you're going to find some fairly heavy traffic, especially in the mornings, and then again in the late afternoon as folks are getting off of work. So that's definitely something that you want to consider. You may look at taking an alternative route to get into the city if you are traveling into the city during those kind of peak times where there are a ton of cars on the road. And as I mentioned in the first point, there are multiple ways to get into Oklahoma City. So you want to just make sure that you give yourself plenty of time and use an app like Waze that actually monitors traffic in real time. That's one of my favorite apps. That way you can see exactly what's going on with traffic in the moment, and it can route you to the most efficient and quick way to get to where you're going. All right, moving on to pro number 2 of living in Midwest City, and that is the cost of real estate. At the time of this recording, the median home price in Midwest City is $177,000, which is well below the median sales price of a home in Oklahoma City at the time of this recording, which is $224,600. Now, let me give a quick caveat to median sales price in Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City, the metro area, is a bit unique. It covers a large area of land, about 640 square miles, and there are multiple townships or cities within the Oklahoma City metro geographic borders that aren't technically part of Oklahoma City. Let me explain it like this. For example, there's a community in the Oklahoma City metro geographic area called Nichols Hills that's right in the middle of that area, but it is actually its own city. And the median home price in Nichols Hills at the time of this recording is $900,000. So obviously that's going to skew those numbers for the overall Oklahoma City metro. So when you hear me say median home price of $224,600, that excludes those other cities that are in or around the Oklahoma City metro. That is only homes that have an Oklahoma City address. So going back to my point about the cost of real estate in Midwest City, at $177,000, that median sales price is well below what it is in Oklahoma City proper. According to the website bestplaces.net, the cost of living in Midwest City is 19% lower than the national average. So again, pro number 2 for Midwest City, the cost of living and real estate is lower. All right, con number 2 of living in Midwest City, that is that most of the food and coffee options in Midwest City are going to be chains. And for some of you, maybe that's not an issue at all. You don't mind getting your coffee from Starbucks or grabbing food from a chain restaurant. But if you like that kind of one-off special vibe for your coffee shop, or that higher-end fancy restaurant that you're not going to find in other places around town, then you're actually going to have to commute into Oklahoma City to find those things. Now, as I mentioned in pro number 1 of this video, that's a quick, short drive. But as far as the food and coffee options that are actually contained within the suburb of Midwest City, for the most part, those are going to be chains. Pro number 3 of living in Midwest City is that there are a ton of great outdoor activities nearby. Midwest City has some beautiful parks, very large parks in fact, and it also has some great public golf courses. So if you're into golf, Midwest City has got you covered. John Conrad Golf Course is a great place to play golf. I love playing golf there myself. And as I mentioned, some of the parks there are very large and beautiful. It's a great place to take your dogs for a walk. If you're into hiking, if you're into mountain biking, there are some trails nearby. Lake Stanley Draper is just a short drive from Midwest City, and there are lots of great trails around that area as well. So if you're somebody who's into the outdoor activity, that outdoor life, Midwest City is definitely a great suburb to consider. Moving on to con number 3 for Midwest City, that is severe weather. And this really applies to the entire kind of Oklahoma City metro area because we do get severe weather from time to time. Now, for the most part, it's not anything to be majorly concerned about. We do have excellent meteorologists in this area. We have excellent warning systems for things like tornadoes, but just know that those things do happen from time to time around the Oklahoma City area. In addition to things like tornadoes that we get in the spring, sometimes in the winter we'll get ice, which can weigh down the power lines and then knock out power for a while. Again, that's not something that happens necessarily every year, but it is something to be aware of. It is something that does happen, and it is something to take into consideration when you are looking at relocating to a specific area of the country. And pro number 4 of living in Midwest City is the high school sports. If you're somebody who's into Friday Night Lights, into the high high school football excitement and drama and everything that comes along with that, then Midwest City has got you covered there. High school football is huge in the suburb of Midwest City and many of the suburbs that surround Oklahoma City. The Midwest City Bombers have had a great football team throughout the years. And so if that's something that you are interested in, or maybe you've got kids that play high school sports and you want them to be in a competitive environment, then Midwest City is definitely a great area to look into for that. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, you want to do your own research, dig in deep, talk to teachers and coaches, athletic directors, all that sort of thing, if sports is something that you're considering as a part of your move. But Midwest City is a great suburb for high school sports in the Oklahoma City metro area. So overall, Midwest City gets a letter grade rating of B+ from the website niche.com. It's a great area for families. There are tons of families that live in Midwest City. There are also a lot of military folks in Midwest City. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, Tinker Air Force Base is right there in Midwest City. And so a lot of folks who work on base live in Midwest City. And then obviously it's very military friendly because of that. You've also got quite a few military retirees who maybe came to this area to work at Tinker Air Force Base and then decided they loved it and want to retire here and spend the rest of their lives here. And so it's a very family-friendly community. A lot of folks have lived in their homes for a long time in the Midwest City suburb. It's a great area to consider. There's also a ton of new construction happening on the east side of Midwest City right now, so it's continuing to expand. You've got lots of options for housing, great prices on the real estate in Midwest City, as I mentioned earlier in this video. So overall, it's a great area to consider if you are thinking about relocating to the Oklahoma City area. And if you are considering a move to the Oklahoma City area or a surrounding suburb like Midwest City, like Spencer, like Moore or Norman or Yukon or Mustang or Edmond, I would love to help make that a smooth transition for you. Whether you're moving in 9 days or 90 days, go ahead and give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email. You can find all of my information down in the description below. I would love to help you make a smooth transition to the Oklahoma City area. All right, well, that's all for today's video on the pros and cons of living in Midwest City. Until next time, remember, with living in Oklahoma City, your dream home is just around the corner. I'll see you guys in the next video.